Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Mental Toughness and Body Show, where we explore the minds of high achievers, uncovering the discipline, resilience, and mindset that drive success in sport, business, and life. And today, I have the privilege of speaking with an Australian Winter Olympian. You're my first Winter Olympian on the podcast, Manuela. Who knows all about what it is to be pushing the limits, bouncing back from setbacks, and making a lasting impact beyond the competition stage, which we're also going to get into today. Manuela Bertchold, did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Is a two-time Olympian in Moguls Skiing, representing Australia in 2002, 2006. And I did read that you've been to 42 World Cups.
I didn't know that number, so thank you for telling me that.
So obviously a decade spanning a very long period of time, and I just can only imagine the rigors that you put your body through. So Manuela, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Rob. It's great to be here with you.
So I wanted to start out with obviously the sport of moguls. I'm sure you weren't born to be a mogul skier necessarily, but you're born on the mountain and you started skiing as a child. I learned to ski at Mount Buffalo when I was 4. And all I wanted to do was go straight down the hill as fast as I could. That's all I wanted to do. Needless to say, I lack a little bit of technique and I haven't been skiing for years. But what is it for you? Did you start, you're born on the mountain, started skiing as a young child, and where did the Winter Olympics come into it?
First of all, I think you'll have to come skiing with me this season.
Yes.
I'll have to make the trip up here.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was preparing for this, and I'm thinking, this is me and my geography. So you're at Jindabyne, New South Wales. I'm in Melbourne, Victoria. Your ski fields are way better than ours. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I can just drive up. And I'm thinking Jindabyne. I'm thinking Victoria. I'm thinking Mansfield. No, it's a longer drive than that.
Quick 7.5 hours over the hill. You'll be fine. Look, Rob, I grew up here in Jindabyne. My parents moved here from Switzerland. So I had Swiss ski instructor parents, and my mum actually competed for Switzerland in alpine skiing back in the day. So you could pretty much say that my brother Andrea and myself were born into skiing, and I think
Yeah.
we could both ski before we could walk. And growing
Yes.
up here in Jindabyne, we spent every moment on snow that we absolutely could.
So where did the appetite come from? Like, what do you remember the age where you said, "Yep, I'm going to the Olympics"?
Yeah, 100%. I remember as a young kid, I remember even 7, 8, 9, I sort of went, I want to go to the Olympics and I'm not sure what for. And I just remember it always being such a passion of mine, or a real goal of mine to get to the Olympics.
Is that because you saw it on TV?
Yes, I watched the Olympics from a very young age, the Winter Olympics, the Summer Olympics, and I remember it standing out around that age. And we used to compete for trampolining as well. We competed in Australia at trampolining because my mum started the trampoline club when I was, oh gosh, I must have been about 4, and my mum started the trampoline club because I used to hog the only trampoline at the gymnastics centre. So she thought, oh, I could start a trampoline club. And she had it for 35 years. So she's only
Wow.
recently gotten rid of it. But my brother and I competed trampoline, which then helped us in our skiing career. But the question you asked was how I got into moguls. We used to ski. My dad was working and my mum would take us up onto the hill. And we were skiing around one day, and I always went as the single on the chairlift, and my brother and my mum went up together. And then this one day, my brother went as the single, and I was going up with mum and dad, with mum. And at the top, my brother got off the chairlift and said, Mum, you've got to meet this guy, Justin. He does freestyle with the local freestyle team, and they do moguls and aerials and ski ballet. And we met the coaches there and then. And the very next weekend, we went along to their come and try day.
How old were
I,
you?
I was 11 and my brother was 9. And my birthday's end of May, so I would have just turned 11 and he would have just turned 9. He's in the season. And we went along and we were hooked. And we never looked back from that weekend. And we were in the Threadbow freestyle team from then. and then went up through the ranks. I think by age 14, I was already competing Rocky Mountain Circuit in the US. And then we started at about 16, 17, we started competing Europa Cup circuit. And at 19, I did my first World Cup and then World Champs, and then all of it followed.
Maybe just for those listening thinking, what the hell's a mogul, and don't watch the Winter Olympics and
Yeah.
stuff, maybe you could explain what it is that your event is.
It is sometimes hard to understand. Moguls is because a lot of people know the alpine skiing around the gates, and a lot of people know ski across now, like border cross and mountain biking and things like that that's on snow now, like BMX racing around racing gates.
Yeah.
For us, moguls is the bumps in the snow and then the jumps. So there's a jump in the top third section and there's a jump in the bottom third section. And so we ski a few moguls, then we do one jump, ski some more moguls down the middle of the course, another jump, and then have to ski some moguls to the finish line.
And it's, I may get this wrong, but it's a case of speed, obviously your knees and how well they're together, and also the complexity of the tricks and execution of that, and getting to the bottom with the best execution and the fastest speed. Is that?
Yes. So it's a combo. You can't be just fast, you can't just turn well, and you can't just jump well. It's a combo of all of it. And that's where the trampolining came in so handy for my brother and I. And it's a fun fact that a lot of people now getting into the sport of moguls, or the younger generation getting into that freestyle skiing now, when my brother and I started, you did the combined event, which was moguls, aerials, which is Jackie Cooper, Elisa Camblin, Lydia Erodiokonu, that
ridiculously high jumps. Yeah,
exactly. Big jumps, lots of flips, lots of twists. And so we all started out doing aerials as well. I only got up to doing singles and single twisting jumps on snow, but my brother got up to doing triple twisting, or he did, twisting triple somersaults. And we also did ski ballet at the time, which was long poles, short skis, and it was like ice dancing on snow.
Yes. Do they still do that? Because that's not in the Winter Olympics.
No, it never made it. It was a trial sport for 98 Olympics. And then it was another judged sport and they just didn't allow it. There was a little bit of controversy with who won, and they thought, no, we're not going to let another judged sport into the Olympics at that stage. So freestyle became more just aerials and moguls. Now there's some other sort of sports that fall under that banner, but yeah, so classic freestyle these days, moguls and aerials are still going.
So if you go back to, say, when you were age 11, do you remember why you were so driven?
I always wanted to succeed. I always wanted to have a purpose. And I always I loved the thrill of competition. I loved the thrill of the challenge. Like moguls was very challenging. It was always very challenging. And like you sort of just went over it, we had to be good at all sorts of different things, the speed, the moguls, the aerials. When I got up through the ranks, I always tried to push the jump side of things. The women sometimes in certain sports can play it a bit safe.
Yeah.
And at that time when I was competing the last 4 years for the last Olympics, I was one of the only girls in the world doing a front flip in the moguls. And it was really hard. It's a hard jump to land. It's a blind jump. And just trying to push the limits that way. So I always wanted to make an impact. And I always thought that I had this feeling that I'm destined for more. So I've always had that drive behind me.
Were there other aspects, and the reason I'm asking is I'll reflect on myself in a moment, were there other aspects of your life that you think that you were missing, perhaps, that you thought you could then, the greatness, like, I don't know, maybe you weren't the best student, or there was something like there and you thought, you know what, this is my pathway to where I want to get to?
100%. I was always much better at sport than at school. At school, I excelled in PE, PD, PH. So all of those things that I was very interested in. But math, science, English, you could leave that for me. I was always a very dedicated student because I had parents that were just so supportive of my brother and I. With our sport, if we wanted to take it however far we wanted to, but they always said, have things to fall back on, go to school, make sure you study. But For me, I definitely excelled in sport, and it's where I think maybe this is where you're kind of getting at. For me, I found confidence through sport. I found self-belief through sport. I found motivation. I found that get up and go. I found that energy and that electricity, and that sort of where I then wanted more of it. It was my natural high through my life.
I really get that, because I had the exact opposite to everything that you just said in sport. Like I was a tiny little kid, not good at any sport, was bullied, had no self-confidence, no self-belief, none of that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a great student. I didn't have friends and that kind of stuff. So it was really hard for me. And there was a part of me that I was just always really driven, and I don't know where that came from. It's just like I knew that I was due for some greatness at some point in my life. And when I was 11, bizarre, but my parents took me along to learn the bagpipes.
Oh, wow.
Now, after the very first session, I was hooked. And I started to learn on the same night as another kid. And I was like, I'm going to beat you. I didn't say that to him, but it was like, I'm going to learn faster than you, because, just like with skiing, you learn different moves and stuff. And I was like, you learn different scales. It's like, right, I'm going to memorize these two in this next week, and then give me more and give me more. And I just wanted to be able to play music as soon as possible. I wanted to have it to memory. And then I was only a few months in and realized that the people I was learning off were gooses and had no idea. And my parents found like a better coach for me, and he spoke about competing. And I'm like, what? You can win something from playing an instrument? Like what?
Yeah.
Good from the piano and stuff, but not the bagpipes. And pretty quickly, I'd set myself a goal to win the Australian Championships and and like go to the World Championships. And they then stopped having Australian Championships. But I made it to the World Championships in 1990. And
Wow.
that all came from the age of 11. But it was a massive thing in me building confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you're bullied and now you start playing an offensively loud instrument and you're wearing a dress, that does not exactly remove the target from you. But I was so good at it that people were like, wow. And so I was actually never bullied for playing the
That's
bagpipes,
unreal.
because I was so good.
Yeah.
But the confidence that it gave me has really stuck with me now. And like, it's only now that I'm doing podcasts and I reflect on these things, and we'll get into some of this in a second, but I didn't look at it this way. But what it did for my confidence, and it was the coaching, it was my work ethic, it was my drive, it was the fact that I had a massive goal from the age of 11. I didn't know when I was going to accomplish it, but I knew I was going to be able to get there. And coincidentally, do you know what number I came? Because this is relevant to you. What number I came in? Well, I played as part of a band in the World Championships in 1990.
I don't know.
14th.
There you go. And I was going to guess that, and I'm like, but my favorite number's 7. Maybe he's going for 7. Maybe. Awesome. We were both 14th.
And everybody
You and I have a lot of parallels.
That's right. So you came 14th in your last Winter Olympics. Is that right?
Yes, I did. So finished with the 14th. I wanted a top 10, but ended up 14th.
And you know what? So did we. And just like you said there about the judging, like pipe bands and everything, it's all judged, and it's very judgmental. And we were the first Australian band to ever compete. It was called Grade 1, which is the highest, the first ever. And it's so political that there was no way, even if we were the best band in the world, we would not have won, because it's political. Now, we should have got in the top 10, but we came 14th.
That is so awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I think the bagpipes would be one of the hardest things to do, and with the breathing.
I know it
like
is.
Didgeridoo.
It's like one of the hardest instruments to play. But
I did want to jump in and say something about that coming 14th, only because it's probably relevant right here. I had trained and you know, you get to a certain point, and especially in sport, and maybe with the bagpipes, but especially in sport, I had to be realistic as well. So, yes, I was always chasing that gold medal, and I always wanted to win. I wanted to win every World Cup I entered. I wanted to win the World Championships I did. You know, I back in the day, I won Junior World Championships. I always set really high standards for myself, and I showed a lot of promise at the international level. So, in my last couple of years on the World Cup circuit, I had a fifth, I had a seventh, so a couple of ninths. I'd had a couple of top 10 results. So
Yeah.
top 10 wasn't unrealistic. I'd never been on the podium. So the closest I'd ever gotten was fifth in the finals. So although I matched it with the other competitors and the other ladies, I know I had all the skills. And there's been things at the Olympics where the person who's qualified last into the finals does this smoke show of a run and wins the gold medal. So it's not unheard of. So you've
Yes.
got to keep chasing that dream. But for me, I was realistic and I went, if I can finish this sport after competing for Australia for 12 years, you know, missing my first Olympics due to injury, competing at 2 Olympics, if I can finish with my head held high with a top 10 result, then that's all I want. And so that's what I chased.
Yeah.
And the week before the Olympics, in our last World Cup, I came ninth. The World Cup before that, I was, I think, 11th or 12th. And then one that season, I was seventh. And I was like, I am right on track to be in that top 10.
Yeah.
And, you know, at the end of it, Rob, coming 14th, it was really satisfying because at the end of the day, I skied a really good eliminations run to make it into the finals. Finals were later on that night. I skied great warm-up runs. I skied a great finals run. And on that night, they judged me 14th. But what I can, with every ounce of confidence in my body, say that the year before the Olympics, I set myself this goal. I had the calendar, you know, count down from the year, you work back. So I was never a partier. I never tried a drug in my life. I still now, I hardly ever have any alcohol, but I made sure that I did everything right. So there was obviously no drugs. There was obviously no alcohol. There was no parties. There was no staying out ridiculously late. The training was all mapped out. And I wanted there to be no ifs, buts, or maybes when I was standing there at that finish line. So because I think if I would have come 14th and would have said, oh, but I went to that party back in July 6 months ago, what could I have done? So I did everything right. Even that year, you know, I sort of went to sponsors and I went to my parents and said, look, I'm going to work the minimal amount. And at the time I was doing massage, I was doing remedial massage. I was teaching a lot of aerobics classes, which you'd remember. So I just fit them in and around my training schedule. And if it didn't fit, I didn't do it.
Didn't do it,
and so there's one thing I'm actually really proud of, to be able to go, sure, it wasn't the top 10 that I know that I realistically could have got. Yes, I was still chasing the gold medal or a podium because stranger things can happen. But to be there and to go, I came 14th that day, you have to be happy with that if you haven't left anything to chance.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'm in the same. You know, we were hoping for top 10. We knew we wouldn't win because of, well, we weren't at that standard. But again, for me personally, I was starting to become a chartered accountant at the same time. My first year at work, it was, you know, it was incredibly hectic. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to finish at the end of this, essentially. At the end of that season, we finished back here. That was in August in Glasgow in 1990. And then I effectively retired in December that year. And like to give people listening some sort of perspective, like the difference between, say, first and second in the World Championships is like 0.25, like a quarter of a point. So to demonstrate how much we were ahead of everyone in Australia, we won the Australian Championships by over 100 points.
Wow.
That's just how far ahead we were. in Australia. So it was a completely different standard. But yeah, I mean, we walked away from that, and it's embarrassing to say this, but I made a mistake on the world stage, right? I made a mistake in my, like in my fingering and stuff, and you can't do anything about it. And I was proud to just be there and make it, and come 14th. It's like, wow, yeah, we're the first Australian band to do it. And it was a number of years later, but that same band, they actually won the World Championships, but it took them like 10 years
Yeah, wow.
to win. So
And
yeah.
what you said right there, like, is going, own it. I made a mistake. It happens. Mistakes happen. Own it. We wanted to retire then. That was the time. You did everything you could. You don't plan on making mistakes. It's how you handle them.
So let's talk about just how hard the bloomin' sport is on your knees and your back and all that kind of stuff. I suppose let's talk a couple of things. Given that, I mean, I don't know whether you were living over in Europe to obviously you're following the snow, so you're cold all year round. But just how hard is it on your body? And say after an Olympics or a World Cup, what is then, I mean, is it like the tennis where they finish the Australian Open and then, I don't know, they have like 2 weeks or something and they're playing the next tournament, like the body. I know that, look, recovery has changed a lot. Ice bath, when I first started training, nobody had ice baths, but now it's become more popular. But maybe just give us an indication of how hard it is on the body and how long it takes you to recover in between competitions.
Yes. It's funny about the ice bath thing. Like everyone comes into the gym these days and they're like, oh, I'm doing this new thing, ice bath or Wim Hof. And I know as a young athlete, I did absolutely everything possible. And when we were competing, as you said, we were chasing the snow all the time. So we did hot tub and rolled in the snow. Hot tub, rolled in the snow. That was our hot cold therapy. We did it everywhere. And then the other funny thing is we'd go to ski resorts where there was lakes, and if they weren't frozen over, we'd walk on in there and sort of stand in there for a while. It was pretty definitely made you tougher. But so we did a lot of that. If we didn't have access to jacuzzis, or I mean, we always had access to snow, then we'd just obviously do hot cold in the shower. I remember I've actually even been doing breathing techniques since a young teenager, which we can talk about later. But that whole holistic thing and the approach to training and recovery, because we were on tour. So when I started competing overseas, obviously it's middle of summer now, it's middle of winter over there. So we would have to leave Australia October. So we'd be away October, November. And so when I retired, I hadn't had a Christmas at home in, it was 16 years I hadn't had a Christmas at home.
Yeah.
And so we were always away through December, January, February. Sometimes if the season was cut short due to if we had lack of snow or our coaches wanting to come home, end of the season, we'd come home either end of Feb, March, and then we'd be in Australia. We'd go again to do a camp on a glacier somewhere, either in Europe or in Canada, sort of in April, May. And then we'd be back for our Australian season, June, July, August. And then we'd go again somewhere, training in September. But we were away most of the time. When we were at training camps, we would have our regimented days on snow, and sort of we'd kind of, back when I was competing, was sort of 3 days on snow and then a day off. And a day off snow was still, you're still in the gym, you're still training, you're out running, you're doing all your things, video analysis, all of that. So it's all still a training day, but just not on snow. And then you might go 4 days on and then 1 day off. So the cycle always changed like that. Sometimes in my sport, it's very comparable to surfing. I think skiing and surfing are the most comparable sports in the way that they're unpredictable with weather, unpredictable with it, how the snow is going to be, what kind of wax is going to be running at the time. If it's going to be hot, cold, windy, chairlifts on hold, you're sort of at the mercy of the weather. So when we were competing, we would, especially on World Cup, we'd travel to the new venue, let's say on the Sunday. We'd get set up on the Monday, ski probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, compete Friday, Saturday, and then go to the next resort on the Sunday again. So it was, yeah, when we were on World Cup, and they used to try and make it smart, obviously have the American and Canadian World Cups as close together as they could, and then the European leg, and then the Asian leg. So yeah, but there was a lot of hard trying to, and also on travel days, trying to organize food so that you're not eating unhealthy or getting too stiff and sore with long flights.
Yeah. And I mean, I find just personally travel, we were just over in LA together. I find even over there, like you're in the States, you're in LA, you're in a first world country, I cannot get access to the same food I eat at home. And I really struggle with that. It's like seasonal vegetables or broccoli. Okay, thanks very much. Can I have some different things? No, it's just broccoli. So that's really challenging. Tell me, like, I'm really curious to know on, well, let's go training to start with. So you said like 3 days on, maybe 1 day off on the snow. I guess there comes a point where it's like, okay, you've just done a Moguls run. The coach says, okay, go again. There's only so many times when you can do that before your focus, your mind is going to stop. I remember asking, do you remember Russell Mark, the shooter?
Yes,
yes. Yeah. So yeah, multiple gold medal winner. And I asked him, I said, if you're having an off day,
target shooting.
Yeah, that's right. I said, if you're having an off day, do you just stay and shoot more? And he said, no, you can't.
No.
Because of the recoil. I've never shot a gun, but you can see that it shoots back and stuff. He said, because of the recoil, you're just fatigued and you need to walk away for the day and you need to come back another day. So what does that typical day of training look like for you?
So I have a fun fact. I actually went and did skeet shooting. So I did my license and I went with a couple of the guys who are on the Australian team, and we learned how to shoot because I wanted to try it for target and focus. And my gosh, the redraw on my arm was unbelievable, on my shoulder the next day. I was like, wow. It was pretty amazing. So, but a typical training day. So, for those guys, it's all about focus and their reaction time. For us, it's another comparable sport for us is sprinting. So the lactic acid buildup in the legs, you are mainly the mogul runs sort of for women. It depends how long they were, but like how many meters the run was and what steepness it was at different resorts and the conditions, but somewhere between, bless you, somewhere between 24 seconds and maybe 32 seconds at the very most. The longest Olympic runs sort of around that 30-second mark. So your legs are like pistons, and so you're doing fast squats basically the whole time. And so you had to make sure that you didn't do too many of those full runs a day. So a typical day would be we'd get up in the morning, we'd go for a light jog. It wasn't a long run, it was a light jog, maybe a 4 or 5K jog around the ski resort. We'd do a few movements, always dynamic movements. And then we'd get up on snow. And I mean, it takes a long time to get up on snow with chairlifts, with cable cars, wherever you are in the world. So you finally get to the mogul run. And then what typically happens is you typically inspect the course. So you'll slide down it or sidestep it, and we'll have a look at how many turns are there, where you do right turns, left turns, how many turns there are before the jump, sort of stand on the jump and feel it out and go, that's where I'm going to do that. And then you'd go through that once. And then I know when I was competing, the coach would say, go up and do a top section, a middle section, and a bottom section. So you'd ski the top section, you'd ski around the jump, middle section, round the jump, bottom section. And you might do that once. Then the next time you'd go off the jump and just do a pop. So it was just like we used to call them T-sets or pops, just jump off the jump straight, land it. Yeah. So you'd do that maybe at sort of half pace. You'd ski, you'd do 1 or 2 runs with pops. And then you would do maybe a 3rd or 4th run down the hill. You'd start to do maybe your easier repertoire of your jumps. So for me, like I was always trying to do a backflip at the top and a front flip down the bottom. So I'd have like a 360 or a upright air where we did 2 twisters and a spread or a Cossack or something like that. So you'd start with that, work up to your harder jumps. And then he would have said to us, I want 2 runs or 1 or 2 runs, full pelt. So like competition runs, top to bottom. We always called them top to bottoms, T to B. And then after that, that's when on that given day, he'd say like, you know, your front flip needs work today, go hike the bottom air and just keep repetitive doing front flips.
Right.
So our typical sort of session on snow was a good 2.5, 3 hours. Then we'd probably have like a little bit of energy food, nothing heavy, and then go and hike the jump or do the section we need. And then we'd be off the hill by maybe 2-ish coming down. So you kind of eat lunch then, and then you're straight to video analysis. So we did video analysis every day after skiing, and then straight to the gym. Gym was anywhere between 1.5 to 2 hours. And then you'd go.
That's not obviously just recovery. That's strength, is it?
Yes.
Or,
yes. So we kept up in competition phases, you would just keep maintenance. But in training phases, we were hitting the gym harder and you'd be sore the next day on the hill. But it's sort of what you've got to do because there's no kind of downtimes. You need to keep that strength up and the quickness. And we do a lot of agility training and plyometric training in the season.
How much time between, so you've just done a run, how much time in training, how much time before you're doing the other one? Because obviously you've got to have a talk to the coach, you've got to get back up to the top again.
Yeah. It all depends on the chairlift ride back up. So sometimes at some resorts, if there's a T-bar, you're like, oh my God, I'm on my legs the whole time. But yeah, you'd quickly talk to the coach down the bottom. You'd have a sip of water or something from your bag, and then you're back on the chairlift. And then you'd basically be at the top. And at World Cups, there's a lot more sort of competitors there and you're waiting for your turn. But on training days, you're just in as fast as you can.
So in competition, I imagine you're sitting at the top of the hill. Like, are you up there for like half an hour or something, or an hour, or what?
We always tried not to be. So the good thing about Moguls, the draw was done the night before, always. And so being a judge sport, you always wanted to run near middle or towards the end of the field. You didn't want to go first out of the start gate, but sometimes we've all been there. We've all been picked out of the start gate first. My first Olympics, I was second out of the start gate in 2002. Right. It was bad. My Olympics started and finished at 7 a.m. on the first day of competition.
Oh, no.
Because we had to inspect the course at 5:30 in the morning. The female elimination run started at 7 in the morning. So at 7:05, I was done.
Okay.
But yeah, so on any sort of day when you're drawn out, you then just, because you've trained there all week and you've trained there that day, you know how long it takes you to get up on the chairlift. So you kind of time it that you're at the top, especially on horrible weather days. You make sure you're down in as much warmth as you can.
Yeah, because you need to keep the legs warm and everything.
We've been in ski resorts. I mean, I mean, pretty good. They're not black or anything. Sometimes they go a little bit almost black color, but some toes that have been very subjected to frostbite over the years in places like Lake Placid, New York, Mont Tremblant in Quebec. There's definitely some cold ski resorts in the world.
Nasty places. This one's for my curiosity. So you're standing at the top to the Olympics. When you're going down, are you counting the number of turns? Are you just looking at are you just looking like a little bit in front, or are you just, because obviously you're going side to side, but are you just looking there, or are you looking for each, or where does your eyes?
For me, I was always taught to look some moguls ahead. So usually there's a shorter amount of turns in the top section. So for me, when I was standing in the gate, I always looked sort of even down to the finish line and across. And then, you know, when you'd sort of focus in, you know, you talk about athletes and business people and things, you know, you're focusing on your mindset. And anyone who knows me for 2 seconds, you knew this the minute you saw me. I'm very out there. I'm very right brain. I'm very in everyone's faces. I love sort of at the top of the moguls. I was always the person. I loved listening to the music. I loved sort of having a joke with my coaches. But when it was time when they said, you know, Manuela, you're on in 2 skiers, I would dial in. I'd either listen to my favorite song or start dialing in. And, you know, you see a lot of people with their headphones on. and we'd be on our poles, and I'd sort of, you know, slap my feet down and get into the zone. And then obviously it got stronger one person out. And then when I went into the start gate, I always had that focus, but I also loved taking it all in. I loved looking. So for me, that actually helped me, taking it all in. And then I'd look down and the starter would go 3, 2, 1. And I know that I used to look at the top jump. So I think, to be really honest, I think the skiing was more on autopilot. I would know what turn I'd have to do before going into the jump. So I'd know what ski I'd have to be on there. I'd know where I had to land. So you quickly see the landing, and then you're looking ahead, and almost, you know, the middle section sometimes is such a blur because your legs just going so fast and you're hanging on for dear life sometimes again, then the jump's there. And you sort of know what you've got to hang on and where you're hanging on. But you hear a lot of athletes with short sports going, it was just a blur. And I remember more often than not, people would say, how was your run? And I'd go, I don't remember.
Yeah, because I guess you're so dialed in on execution.
Yeah. And sometimes you can remember aspects of it. I remember when I'd hit that bottom air just so perfectly with the perfect pop, and having a trampoline background and being quite athletic and acrobatic, like jumps were a really strong point. And when I'd hit it and do that backflip with a iron cross, and it almost felt like stalling it in the air, and then you'd
slow motion,
land beautifully and be able to land. And so you'd remember that thing from your run, you know, you'd remember that one thing. Or I had this really amazing turn in the middle, and like, it's funny you asking me now. I haven't talked about it for so long, but I can remember how my body felt.
Yeah. So let's step into the gym for a second. I realize we can keep talking for hours. So we're stepping into the gym because you are effectively doing these little squats for God knows how many you're doing in the time in 30 seconds, but there's a lot. So you said you're in the gym for maybe up to 2 hours. What's a typical sort of gym session look like?
Yeah, look, for mogul skiing, it's become quite apparent that, I mean, anyone can see you need a strong core. You need a strong core to hold yourself upright. So we did a lot of core. We did a lot of sort of, you know, working the core in layman's terms for bending. So, you know, we call it obviously flexion, but being under stress and hitting those moguls and not being able to collapse over them. We did a lot of core training, a lot of legs and explosive legs. So like I said before, plyometrics, quickness, agility, a lot of quick movements left, right. So we did a lot of that. We did a lot of Olympic lifts. So a lot of Olympic lifting, a lot of time under the bar. Also sort of explosive leg press and things like that. But now over time, you know, you want to do a lot more upper body as well, because you need a strong upper body to hold yourself still. The mogul skiers are so amazing these days, and we've got such an amazing crew of Australian mogul skiers and freestyle athletes in general, you know, moguls and areas, but mogul skiers. And you see, it's almost like they're separated at their waist, upper body and lower body. So upper body's still strong, calm, you know, and their legs are pistons. I was never that good. I sort of was a little bit flaily with my arms, and my chest had come over, but yeah, it's a hard thing to get right, all of it.
And so tell me about the moment where you decide, I'm done. That can be really emotional.
Really tough.
And you think about, well, the Olympics is one thing, World Cups and so forth are every year, but it's been such a big part of your life. Like for me with the bagpipes, and nothing near like what you're doing, but that was like 10 years of my life from a child. And that was kind of the only thing I was good at. And it was like the fun had gone out of it for me. So that was the time that I knew. Broke my parents' heart, but particularly my mum. But the fun had gone out, and I said, Mum, I'm just not enjoying it anymore. I want to, you know, I'd started for a couple of years by then. I'd started doing some powerlifting and bodybuilding and stuff, and I was really into my health and wellness. And I said, I just want to spend more time doing that. I'm not enjoying this anymore. And she said, oh, you always come back to it. And I said, I won't ever come back. It's like,
you ever?
No. No, I'm done. So tell me about that for you and what
What
it was.
what it was for me was I actually was really excited about, I used to call it real life, because I thought being an athlete isn't real life. It's this
Yeah.
amazing thing that and it is so hard, and it's so, you put everything into it, and it costs a lot, and it costs a lot mentally, as well as physically, and as well as, actual money. But
You effectively end up broke, don't you? Because you're
yeah,
traveling all around the world and
absolutely, especially in winter sports in Australia. But it was, for me, I was just so excited about real life. And I started in the fitness industry when I was 17. And I finished high school, went straight into it. I wanted to be a physio at one time, so I did all my massage qualifications, and I really wanted to just help people. I just wanted to, like you, I just wanted to help people be fitter, healthier, happier, and know that they don't need to turn to other stuff to get their natural highs. So for me, I could have, I was the right age, because as a mogul skier, women actually get better sometimes. And so I was in that right age. I could have kept going. I was 29, and I thought, oh, do I go another 4 years?
mm,
And that was where that being realistic came in. If I would have been podium every week at World Cups and things like that, maybe you go, it's great for sponsors, it's great. Yeah, maybe I can win the next Olympics in 4 years. But for me, that realistic sort of approach came into it, and I went, I can do so much with my life, with starting the gym and helping people in my hometown and helping other athletes.
yeah.
So, and I think the catalyst, the big question you asked was, well, what really was it? For me, it was, I'd had some really bad injuries in my knees. So I was very lucky, I think, with my whole body. I really haven't had any injuries in my body, bruises and things like that. But I had an ACL reconstruction when I was 17, the other one when I was 18. So missed the first Olympics. Sort of went through my career battling knees and medial meniscus tears and things. Um, so at that time of 2006, I went, I'm in control of my body. I'm the leanest I can be. I'm the fittest I can be. I'm the strongest I can be. I'm the lightest on my joints I can be. I right now have the chance to finish on my terms, to retire on my terms, and not at the end of it go, what could have been, should have been. Because I've got heartbreaking stories from friends that were in the team that, their binding blew out, and they never went to another Olympics. They're what could have been, or they've had an injury. And so for me to, again, along with that 14th, to stand at the bottom and go, I've done everything possible, and I'm not going to hang on, and I had a coach that really never was very proud of me, was never proud of me. It was pretty bad. And I had some real tough stuff happen in the start gate sometimes, him telling me I wasn't very good. And
I'll tell
but
you what, if you give me his name off air, if I see him somewhere, I'll kick him in the nuts for you.
he's an
This
American
is from
coach.
Manuela.
He's an American coach. Exactly. Go, Manuela gives you this. But it's funny now, if I'd see him now, we'd give each other a hug and it's no problem. But and you know what he used to say to me? You're an amazing person, Manuela. You suck as an athlete. That's what he used to say to me. And this is after I'd like had some really good results. But at the end, at the Olympics, he came up to me, had the biggest smile on his face, patted me on the back, and just was like, you can be so proud of yourself, and you should be really proud of yourself. And it was this kind of funny sort of what everything came together at the end for me. And my brother had retired 4 years earlier, so I had my brother and my mum and dad at the Olympics, and it was very special.
Yeah, it kind of makes me emotional. We're more alike than you may think. My coach, Fred was his name. He never once told me he was proud of me. And um, it was like, why can't you say it? Was what because I was only a little kid, and then grew up with him. And he always used to talk about this other guy the kid that he used to train, and he was like his best ever. And he would always talk about, and I'm like, he'd be telling someone else, I'm like, I'm right here. I'm right here. I think I've done more than this dude. And probably the moment that was probably one of the toughest that I'd faced in that time. I'll try and say it without being emotional, because he didn't
Yeah.
actually say that he was proud of me, but he said, I just finished playing something for him. I used to practice in his kitchen and whatever. And he said to me, he used to call me Robbie. He said, Robbie, I've taught you everything that I can. I need to send you somewhere else, to another coach down in Melbourne. I lived in Bendigo.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was heartbroken. I was like, but
You're my coach.
well, can I not see you anymore, or,
Yeah.
whatever. And I think that was his way of saying that, I certainly achieved more than the other person. And he never said it.
Mhm.
And it seems so stupid, doesn't it? But it's something so simple that it's like, why can't you just say that, you're proud? Like
Mm.
like your coach said, you should be proud of yourself. Yeah, I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. I
But
want you to be proud of me.
you proud of me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how he said that with you? I used to get there was this other girl skier, and just no names, but he used to say, why can't you be like her? Like, and he'd say her name. And he'd go, watch her ski. Just do it like her, Manuela. I'd be like, I'm trying.
Yeah. Oh dear. So then tell me now how, because obviously you can't take away the work ethic, the focus and everything. I think it's I'm sure you agree with this. I've certainly taken it everywhere in my life. And I think what drives me is a lot of my past, like even as a child. And particularly now, I don't know whether you know my story, what happened with my daughter. And like I was watching her, and it's like, I don't usually swear, so I won't swear here, but it's like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm now watching my daughter go through what I went through. And except for her, it's turning into an eating disorder, and, it gets so bad she takes her life. And I think there's part of that where I think every single thing that I do now, it's like, I'll show you, you bullies, and whatever. But you know who was the biggest bully for me?
You. Okay.
The way that I used to beat myself up all the time, because I'm not, because we judge um, life by our results, which isn't that your business name?
I can life with results. There you
Life
go.
with results. And you judge your success by the results that you're getting. I was getting average to poor results in every aspect of my life. And then the bagpipes gave me like, well, I'm good at this. I can't make a career out of this. So it's like I've got to, find something else. And so now I think I use that as fuel as well, to say, you know what, all you bullies and whatever, and me and others that didn't believe in me, I'm going to prove to myself as to what it is that I'm capable of. And I've taken all of what I used to have, which is my number one focus is my health, but then that gives me the energy and the focus and the consistency and the work ethic and the drive and the goals to just keep setting new targets for myself. And then that's gone into business as well. Like I started as a chartered accountant, doing that for 19 years, and then saying, you know what? I hate this. I want to do something that's going to add value and impact for others, just like what you're doing. And it's a no-brainer. Like I absolutely love what I do, but I bring that same work ethic and everything to this, which it's your podcast, not mine. I'm hogging it
No,
now.
I love it. No.
Um,
I did want to interject there if I could. I remember sitting next to you when I met you in LA, a couple of months ago in November. I sat next to you and quickly sort of realized that we were in that same field. And I afterwards, I really, how we've gotten to know each other a little bit, and I've actually really followed your story and what happened to your daughter, Liv, and I'm so deeply moved by it. I've sent you a couple of messages, and I she's with you through all of this. You are an incredible,
she's definitely guiding
incredible
me.
dad. Yeah, and if that has been impactful from you as a kid, and then I'm so sorry that you have to watch that. I don't have kids, and just having to, if you had to watch that happen with your daughter, and then what it led to, what you're doing now is so beautiful, and you are helping others. And I feel that from you, and not even knowing, I don't know all the pieces, you know, I only know a little bit, but what you're doing and the fight for it all, it does. I remember having such, I don't know where my belief system in me came from, but
Yeah,
I actually,
yeah.
we were talking about bullying the other day actually at the gym, because one of the ladies' kids is getting very bullied. And I said, she made some off the cuff comment and said, you would have never been bullied. And I said, oh my God, I got so bullied. I got bullied by boys for being too like boyish, for being athletic and being too heavy set with legs and butt. But I remember one big thing that I got really bullied with at school was because I had mum and dad from Switzerland, and these older boys at school used to call me the wog kid. And my parents did me no favors. Like I had a tomato. It was like the Wog Kid movie. I had the tomato and the salt in my carrot sticks, and I had all the healthy stuff in my lunchbox. And so, yeah, they used to call me the Wog Kid. And I remember I came home and I said to my mom, I got called a Wog Kid today. And then mum and dad told me about where we're from and the history, and how lucky I am to speak another language, how lucky I am to have dual citizenship, and it was funny, I think there and then, and I was in primary school, I was quite young in primary school, but I remember turning everything negative into a positive. And you know, someone said to me today, because I sliced my leg open on Sunday riding a bike with my 80-year-old mother, who's just a weapon on a mountain bike, and I came off, I got bruises and cuts, and I patched myself up, and I went to the doctor this morning and said, look, I better probably have a look that it doesn't get infected and doesn't have some gravel in there. And so I came back to work quickly 10 minutes later, and one of my girls who works for me, she said, so are you allergic to anything, you know, with, you know, any of the stuff that they give you, any stuff? And I said, I'm allergic to negative people. And it was just the first thing that came out of my mouth. And I think, so for me, that as a young kid and going through everything, I always was very quick to turn every negative into a positive, because we've all had stuff happen to us at different times in our lives, and stuff has happened to me as well. You know, people see the good stuff, but you know, the trials and tribulations with the injuries, with some other stuff that's happened, but you turn the negatives into positives and do what we can, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think back to like when I was a kid, and I was a weak-minded and stuff. Even though I was driven with the bagpipe side of things, a mental toughness is now my greatest strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally impossible for anything to happen in my life and me to be negative about it, because I've been conditioned over such a long time to just refuse to allow that to be part of my DNA anymore. Just a couple more questions, but I'm just conscious of the time. Maybe we'll have to have you on again, because we could talk for so long. Now, don't break my heart here, because I'm feeling like there's still a chance for me for the next Winter Olympics. Tell me, what is the what for Moguls skiing, for instance? What's the best like body composition, height, etc., age for a male Mogul skier?
We may need to change your date of birth, but your body shape is perfect for a mogul skier.
Oh, you don't have to be really tall?
Short. It's great.
Oh, yes.
So we'll see what we can do about the date of birth disease.
Right. Okay. So 56, I'm too old to get started now.
Look, I don't think we're ever too old. Maybe there's a masters competition that we can throw you into. Yeah, come up skiing with me. We'll enter you in a mogul comp and you'll be a mogul skier, okay?
I asked, I'm trying to think of his name, James, out of the Awesome Foursome.
Oh, James Tompkins.
Tonkin. Yeah.
He was our athlete liaison.
Oh, there you go.
Athlete liaison at 2006.
There you go. So I asked him, so he's what, like 6'5" or something? I've met him.
So tall.
I've met the four of them and their wives, and it's like, man, it's me. I'm like in a freak show here. It's like,
Nick Green was our athlete liaison in 2002. Anyway,
I'm so small. So I asked him, and I said, what chance have I at 165 centimeters of getting in a boat to, be a rower as part of the team? And he said, just the coxswain, I'm afraid. which is the person that sits in the front of the boat and
Yeah.
does nothing.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's, you know what? It's perfect because you can bark orders at them. You can tell them where you're going. You know, you're in charge.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. So you tell us a little bit about what you do now, and obviously you run a fitness facility up there. Do you only work with? So I'd love to send a few clients your way, but do you only work with people that are local and can physically drive there? You've got some global programs. You would just, we're more connected than we thought. You got a Citizen of the Year as well, a part of the Australia Day Awards. Congratulations on that. So maybe tell us a little bit more about what it is that you're doing in your business. You're certainly having a great impact in obviously, adding back to your sport and supporting other athletes and so forth. But just if people want to follow you and get to know you and maybe part of any of your programs that you're running.
Fabulous. Thank you. And yeah, it's such a, you and I could sit and talk for hours and hours, no end. And yeah, congratulations to you. We just last Sunday won Citizen of the Year for Australia Day Awards in our local areas. So it was pretty moving for both of us, I think. So I run high country fitness in Jindabyne. And so I started when I retired from Moguls Skiing from after the 2006 Olympics. Like I said, that year leading up to the Olympics, I did everything right. I trained right, I ate right, I had no regrets. In that year, it also allowed me to plan for what I wanted to do in retirement. So I was one of these really, I've got Swiss parents. I always say I'm very planned because of them. I'm always try to sort of map out what I've got going on. And so I retired in March after the Olympics in 2006. And on the 6th of June, I had High Country Fitness doors open and I had to renovate a building. And so I was in that building for 5 years. And now I'm in the one I'm in since 16 years. So High Country Fitness is going really strong. It's the base where we have a cycle studio, a group fitness studio, and we've got a massive gym floor. I've been doing a few renovations lately. So we've got that facility. We also do boot camps and personal training outside on the lake, on the edge of the lake. We do fitness retreats up in the mountains, things like that. So that's if people can come to us. I've even had clients from Melbourne come up over the years, which has been really lovely, sort of our fitness retreats. And we'll do everything from workout in the gym to go hiking in the mountains, because I live at the foothills of Australia's highest mountain, Mount Kosciuszko. So that's fun to do with people, or stand-up paddleboarding on the lake. So things like that is sort of where high country fitness works. And we cater for everyone, whether they're casual visits, whether they're people who are here doing a winter season. We get a lot of seasonal people come to town. And in summer, we get a lot of, the rowing teams you just talked about, we get a lot of.
And mountain bikers as well?
Mountain bikers, rowers, runners, the high altitude walking camps, they all come up here. It's really cool. A lot of football teams. So we work with athletes and locals and everyone. And it was about 10 years ago, I kept getting the question, love your energy, love, working with you. How can I take you home with me? So I made an online sort of portal, which came into handy when we had to close the gym through that horrible C word, COVID. So we had the online component, which I'm now combining with Life with Results. So it's actually taking a rebrand at the moment. It had a very snow fitness feel to it, but it's basically body weight training for anyone to do anywhere when they don't have any equipment at home. So that was the way to do that. We're revamping that at the moment. So I'll relaunch that a little bit with everything in conjunction with basically getting people results through just people who want to live the life that they can see, but they don't know how to get there. They want to live this healthy, happy life. And you see it all the time. We just want to give people the tools to live the life they want, need, and deserve. And that's where it's all now coming together, all the years of experience. I'm 47 now. And so I've been doing this since I was 17. And I feel like I'm just right place, right time, everything coming together. And Life with Results is just now the vessel to put it all together. And the other sort of the thing that I've been doing a little bit more of is helping athletes find a purpose post-retirement, which is lovely.
Yeah, fabulous. So the best way, I think we've connected through Instagram, but is the best way, maybe I'll put the link to your website, and I guess you're on Facebook and Instagram as well, with the same name, are you?
Yes, absolutely. So
With the same
we've got,
name.
yeah. So we've got the Life with Results, we're High Country Fitness, and Manuela.
Terrific, terrific. So I'm going to give you the final word. What would you say has been the best advice you've ever had? And perhaps it's not from your coach, but
Oh gosh. Now that one's put me on the spot. The best advice I've ever had. Look, I mean, it's probably super, super simple, and it's try everything. Try everything. It doesn't matter if you fail. I remember my parents.
except drugs.
Yes, true. I've never done that.
Yeah, either.
And it's kind of like a badge of honor now. I love it. Someone even last year, do you want to try this now that you're retired? And no, I don't. Now I don't. I definitely don't. But I know that, yeah, try, because what's the worst that can happen? You might not be able to do it. You know, you might find a way to do it, you know, but try everything.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Manuela, this has been one of the longest podcasts I've done, and we could keep going. So maybe we'll have to divide this one into two, because it's there's a lot of great value here. Thank you so much. It's been just amazing getting an insight into your mindset. And look, I'm proud of you for everything that you've achieved, and how you've represented Australia and everything as well. I'm sure I would have watched you. I love the Winter Olympics. I'm sure I would have seen you over the years competing. And congratulations on all your success with what you're doing with your business as well. And I know adding value and impact back to athletes with your experience, because it's all very overwhelming and everything. I'm sure you're making a real difference in your community. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much. I'm off to go teach an RPM class now.
Fun. Thanks, Manuela.
Have an awesome night. Bye.